So, here we are, watching me doing artwork. How are we all? Nice to see some of you again. You may have been here before, you may not have, but welcome to the channel. Welcome to me doing a pixel art. There's a lot to say about this piece, there really is, and there's a lot of time for me to say it, so I'll probably take some little breaks and stuff. Let you listen to some music or something, I don't know. I've not figured it out, this is all on the fly. So here we have a piece that I've done that I've not yet really named. It's for an end card, and I think it's called like Death Cathedral or something really, really crap. Basically, the story is there's this big cathedral towards the end of the game where you go and make camp on this like ledge, sort of. I don't know if it's overlooking or looking up at the cathedral. The words that I have is something along the lines of you find yourself in the shadow of a cathedral. So it's meant to be like you're not too far away, but you set up camp and you're basically waiting to go and explore this cathedral. And so I started off with this really, what you can see here is like the foreground almost overlooking a big cathedral. And I took elements from other pieces that I've done already and stuff like that, and just sort of, you can see here I'm kind of copy pasting elements and sort of messing around with the stonework and the overall kind of layout to things, dropping in some windows, a little township at the bottom. So this is really like on a ledge overlooking the cathedral, which really wasn't what I was setting out to achieve. So I was kind of barking up the wrong tree for a little bit with this one. You can see I'm starting to put everything together, and the really frustrating thing is I actually liked this as I was doing it. It just didn't work for me, and you'll see why in a minute. But yeah, I start adding different elements, like, oh, actually let's put a little thing in here, let's do a little archway, let's copy the stonework from the tower and put some windows in and all that kind of stuff. And I was almost constantly looking at reference material for cathedrals of places around here, like I say around here, like, you know where I live, around the northeast of England, so places like Durham Cathedral and the York Minster and all that kind of stuff. Trying to put together some of these elements, because where we live there's quite a few older buildings as well, like little castles and stuff, so it's a conglomeration of lots of different buildings. So I'm starting to piece this together, put a couple of towers in, make it look more kind of castle-y. I was also using reference artwork that I'd found on like just a Google search of pixel art cathedrals. Found out later it ended up being AI, which annoyed me somewhat, but we won't get into that right now. So that's why it kind of looked a certain way. You'll probably see it crop up a couple of times in these videos. So it kind of, again, led me the wrong way, really. Yeah, you can see me sort of working on the foreground, trying to bring all this together. And it's really annoying that I'm kind of recording the voice after this whole piece is finished, because I'm looking at this and just thinking, why did I spend so long down this path of wrongness? But that's what art's all about, isn't it? It's all about the process. So I'm thoroughly enjoying this piece. Like, I'm really, really enjoying it. I'm getting stuck in. I'm thinking, oh, this is gonna look awesome. I can't wait to start sort of bringing all these elements together and putting all the detailing, because that's what tends to make a piece. So like doing this window here and putting all these little windows in, it's like, oh yeah, this is all coming together. It's all coming together. It's gonna look amazing. I can't wait to blow everyone away with this piece, and knowing what it looks like in the end and why I couldn't use this. It's just annoying me a little bit. But hopefully you like the finished result anyway. So you see there's more detail going in, more detail on the roof. Probably saving a file there. And then we just keep going and keep going. Add some window detail. I'm just getting mesmerised at the speed of this thing now. I think, yeah, I've probably had enough of that. Let's move on to something different. I think one thing you might be able to pick out is that if I start an element and I don't finish it, it's because I'm fed up. I'm like, don't know where to go with this bit. I'll move on to the next bit. So I'm like, right, let's go and touch the grass here and start messing around with the trees. See what happens. Little windows on towers, turrets, or whatever you call those things, and then I'm not happy with this. Let's make more stuff. Doesn't look like a cathedral yet. It doesn't look big enough. So this was probably my wife's input. She's very good at telling me the truth, and goes, "Yeah, it's good, babe, but it doesn't look much like a what? It doesn't look much like a cathedral." I'm like, all right, okay, yeah, you're not wrong. As annoying as it is to hear feedback that what you've been working on for about 10 hours at this point isn't quite right, she was right. So I started putting this together. And I started doing some housey bits and think, nah, that's not right. So let's shrink it. It won't fit. Doesn't do what I want it to do. So what you can see here is I'm actually placing it on the story card it's intended for, and it doesn't fit. So I play around with the layout for a little bit and then start from scratch. So here we are trying to start from scratch. And so I started drawing just some perspective instead. And again, wasn't overly happy with this. And in a minute or so, you're going to see, there's a couple of times that I forgot to record what I was doing, because you don't see these. There's loads of cuts and things like that in between all these. It was done over the course of about a week and a half, 2 weeks. And every time I had to get up to go and sort out one of the babies, or go and have a chat with my wife, or stop to go and make dinner or something like that, it's like I stopped the recording, start it again. So it's all pieced together for you, but it was quite easy to forget to start the recording again. So there's a couple of jumps where you think, well, how did he get that far? And it's just because I forgot to record. So this bit. So I figured out the perspective of everything, and then took the old cathedral and started just sort of superimposing some of the brickwork that I'd done, and trying to make the basic shape. So you'll see that take shape quite quickly. You get all of these shadows and stuff in, and I think, yeah, this is the right track now. So we're on to getting somewhere close to finished, but this was a real challenge. So this sort of perspective here, where you can't just have that straight line, everything has to shrink as it goes further into the distance, and you can see the windows look a bit wobbly. That all gets cleared up later, but it was so difficult. And I found this really, really challenging, because my pixel art, like a lot of my artwork, is quite simple because I've not practiced for such a long time, and I'm quite out of touch with it. And so getting that roof there to be the same sort of stages and in line with that other roof that's sort of central to the cathedral was really, really hard. And then changing these windows to be in perspective with each other, you'll see it all changes, because it just wasn't right, and it was frustrating as hell. So there's a brief period like this where I just pause. I'm like, nah, this isn't going to plan. Let's just have a look at another reference image, because I've got 3 monitors, and so quite often there was reference images to one side which you can't see here because I can't record all 3 monitors. At least I don't think I can. Maybe I'll look into that. So I'm looking at all the different window patterns here and thinking, what's going on? What can I do? This isn't right. Big windows on the front I don't like. Let's move on to something different. So we start messing around with the foreground of the wall here. And again, looking at this thinking, you see the finished piece, it changes again. I think, why didn't I just get it right the first time? So I started pulling the reference images across to the actual screen so that you could see what I was referencing. I thought, well, why am I doing it all off screen at this point? So this was maybe 3 or 4 days in now, over an hour or 2 each time. So it's like, I want to say it was like a 10-15 hour piece maybe, which sounds a lot for a pixel art, but I'm not very quick. I'm relatively slow. But now I've sort of done a test fitting on the card. Everything kind of fits, and it looks about where I want to go. So I'll start messing around with these windows and think, yeah, let's try and get that right. Let's keep this one here and put that in perspective, and that didn't quite work how I wanted it to. Pixel art's like a puzzle, really. So you place each individual piece, and it's like, if that doesn't fit, you have to put it somewhere else. I feel like there's a lot more freedom with digital painting and stuff like that, which I've done before. There's a lot more margin for error. Whereas if you put one pixel out of place in pixel art, to me, it looks really obvious. There's some more reference images of a few different cathedrals. There's Durham Cathedral in there as well. Just trying to work out this perspective was rough, really rough. If anyone's got any tips on perspective in pixel art, please share. You'll also notice as well, actually, that I started trying to put my face on these recordings because I got a new streaming webcam to see what that would look like. And for these videos, I'm not entirely sure it was warranted, so I actually ended up cutting that back out, but I've left it in for the recording. You can probably see me super quick drinking coffee. Getting some more details in there, pinching some stuff from the old version of the cathedral. Trying to make this roof work was also a nightmare, but at 3000% speed, it definitely looks easier than it was. Again, this was so hard because there's sort of 4 different levels where the perspective goes from the left to right. It sort of gets bigger, so you can't stagger the pixels in the same way you normally would if it was just on a front face. BRB coffee. Always got to get a coffee. So now I'm filling out this foreground bit, which it isn't going to be on the card that you see. But I also use these as sellable prints. Sometimes when I do conventions and stuff, I try and sell them to people who want them, or give them away for followers and stuff like that. So to make a print out of this, obviously I need to do like a full size, almost A4. So the foreground detail is quite important. So now it's time to sort of mess about with the campfire and make this all look good. Add some detail in here and there. I was really happy with this fire, actually. It was okay to begin with, but I enjoyed just trying to make this sort of realistic effect and messing about with the opacity of things and all that good stuff. But then, as you can see here, I got more feedback from my wife who said, nah, it's still not tall enough. Doesn't look much like a cathedral again. So I took that advice on board and started just putting something together. And there'll be a test fit in a second, I'm sure. I still don't know what they're meant to be. There's some kind of supports or struts or something like that. So Beth actually was here with me while I was doing this to try and help me get it right, and she offered some really good advice, and I was just spent ages on this window trying to figure it out. And she was like, no, it still doesn't look right. I thought, yeah, no, you're right, I know. Can I be bothered? Yes, because it has to be good. Just added some little details here and there. You know, this bit I wasn't entirely sure what I was trying to visualize, so I just stuck some pixels down and hoped inspiration would strike. And And this is where the fun begins. So once you've got all these big forms in, it gets so much more interesting because you can start putting the details in. So there's big sort of stonework around the portcullis of the entry wall, I guess. Because this cathedral sort of doubles as a military outpost, or it did in the past, as the backstory goes. But it's old, so you can see I'm kind of adding all the moss to the front and all the greenery and stuff, and then making the trees just pop a little more so they look closer. Adding some highlights here and there. It's super quick. Just sort of bringing out the wall a little bit as well. Add finishing touches on the mountains in the background because they were actually pinched from another piece and changed colour, and I've sort of edited them to belong more in this one. So everything, when you see different elements from different images, it brings the world together because actually you can see that this exists in the same place. So it's not just about reusing assets or being lazy, it's about making the whole world cohesive. So then finally onto the rest of the foreground to bring this to life, start lighting things and bringing out that sword that's in the that's resting against that wall there, lighting everything up. So this is where I really love messing around, is adding this sort of detail, using the opacity of the brush or the pencil tool to kind of mix colours as you would if it was like a palette. And that's where I get the most joy in doing these pieces. The blocking out is less fun. I love the detail like this, like adding a little light here that glows and overlays certain things, changing the overall feel of the piece by adding an overlay layer of lighting to bring everything together and tie all those colours with an element as well. A couple of little rocks on the floor. Touch more of this light in here. A little bit of reflection off the sword as well. Some background details. Some shadows. Revisit the backpack. Put it on the end card. And there you have it. That's it.